The former governor of South Carolina and 2024 presidential candidate and hopeful is Nikki Haley, who's sitting right next to me here in New York. Thanks for joining us, Governor.
It's great to be with you.
Would you like to roll out your new policy on gas taxes for us? I think you're going to scrap federal gas taxes. Is that right?
We're going to come out with an economic plan. We're doing that this week. But one of the things is, yes, we want to eliminate the federal gas tax.
Completely.
It is, look, we have to get more money in our taxpayers' pockets. The families spend over $1,000 a day to fill up their gas tanks. Let's get rid of it. It's a small portion of what actually goes to pave roads, and of that portion, a lot of it goes to bike trails and hiking trails and things like that. And the Highway Trust Fund hasn't been solvent in years. Let's go back and make sure that we do that, not with the Highway Trust Fund, but that we do it out of the general fund in a way that we're looking at infrastructure, roads, bridges, ports for 20, 30 years out, and not just keep piecemealing it the way we are. And that way you also help families that are suffering from inflation.
I think I can ask this with a smile on my face, but your critics would say you're simply buying votes with government money.
No, I'm acknowledging a system that doesn't work anymore. You can ask any state in the country whether that money works. What they do is they go and they take forever. By the time you decide you want to pave a road, by the time it goes through all the federal bureaucracy, the permits, it has gotten much more expensive to pave it. It would be better if you had that money in the states, allowing them to do the permitting, them to do what they need to do, and do it on that. We'd save money for the taxpayers, we'd get roads faster, we'd modernize, and we'd get ready for the future.
The Governor, the latest power rankings, which we've been focusing on here on Fox, show the preference for voters is by far and away for populist candidates on the left-hand side of the street. 84%. On the right-hand side, the preference for conservatives, all the way down to 11%. You, I think, are labelled in this poll as its preference as a conservative. A Reagan conservative.
You know, look, I don't believe in labels. I know the media loves to do labels. You know, is it conservative or populist to want term limits? Is it conservative or populist to say I'm not going to give foreign aid to countries that hate America? Is it conservative or populist to say we want mental health, competency tests for anyone over the age of 75? Is it populist or conservative to say I think every state in the country should have voter ID? You know, there are things that I say that are populist. There are things that I say that are conservative. When the media decides to label you, they get it wrong every time. At the end of the day, the only thing I care about is what the American people want, and that's what we're going to give to them.
It's not all our fault, Governor, surely. You're a populist if you don't want any changes in Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. You're a conservative if you want some kind of reform of Social Security, Medicare and Medicaid. Are you in that camp?
I think I'm a realist.
But do you want reform of some sort in Social Security?
Absolutely. Anyone that tells you they're not going to reform any of those entitlements means they're going to go into office and leave it bankrupt when they leave. Social Security will go bankrupt in 10 years. Medicare will go bankrupt in 8. But we don't have to hurt people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s to do this. We go to people like my kids who are just entering the system, and you change the terms for them. We have to acknowledge there's an issue. And if we want our kids to have anything, we have to start changing entitlements. And anyone that says they're not going to do it is not being serious.
The only politician I can remember who actually did something about Social Security was Ronald Reagan. I think I'm right on that one.
Get ready for a new one.
But it is the third rail. It is the third rail of American politics.
Look, and it's one that we have to be honest with. I mean, you look, we're now $33 trillion in debt. They're spending like drunken sailors, both Republicans and Democrats. We have to acknowledge some real truths if we're going to deal with the debt, if we're going to deal with spending. We've got a lot of lawyers out there. It's time for an accountant, and it's time for an accountant in the White House.
Chaos in the House of Representatives. You can't cut spending. It's very difficult to cut spending, and it's absolute chaos there. Whose side are you on? Are you with the Freedom Caucus on this?
It's not difficult to cut spending. You have to want to do it. Congress has been lazy for a long time. Biden has sent us down this socialism creep, but let's be clear, our Republicans have done this to us too. They need to get in a room. They need to figure it out. As president, I will stop the spending. I will eliminate the earmarks. I'll stop the borrowing, and I'll veto any spending bill that doesn't take us back to pre-COVID levels. Congress needs to do their job. Taxpayers don't want to hear about whether you're going to shut down government or not shut down government. They want to hear you're going to get in a room and fix it. Cut the spending. Do you mean to tell me you can't find anything to stop spending? Instead of going and saying we're going to take this budget and add to it every year, what about if we went and said, What do we have to have? And you did zero-based budgeting up. What if you started there?
OK, it looks almost certain that we're going to shut this government down. Republicans will get the blame. Are you prepared to accept the blame for shutting down the government in the interest of lowering spending?
I am prepared to blame all of Congress if that happens, because what we expect of them is do your job. And let me tell you this, if government shuts down, Congress should not get paid. You don't pay any single congressional member if you're going to go and allow this embarrassment to happen and do this to the taxpayers. Taxpayers send you to D.C. to do your job. Doing your job is balancing a budget. They don't do that. Doing your job is spending taxpayer dollars in a way that you'd spend your own. They don't do that. They're spending like drunken sailors. Doing your job is paying down the debt because our kids are never going to forgive us for this. Doing your job is getting inflation down and making sure we're energy dominant and that people can afford homes and rent. Again, doing your job is making sure that we can go to the grocery store, buy groceries for our families, and fill up our cars like we need it. Congress has failed, all of them, and they need to fix this.
You were ambassador to the United Nations. President Biden addressed the UN yesterday. He did not mention Taiwan. If you were president, would you mention Taiwan in an address to the United Nations?
Not only would I mention Taiwan, I would mention the fact that China had a spy balloon going over us. I would mention the fact that they've killed more Americans than the Iraq, Afghanistan, or Vietnam wars combined. I would mention the fact that they steal $600 billion of intellectual property from us. I'd mention the fact that they're putting a spy center off our coast in Cuba. There's a lot I would mention. Climate change, can't say that that would be a top priority. And if you want to know why the leaders around the world didn't come to the UN this year, they don't respect Joe Biden.
I get the impression you're enjoying yourself.
I'm having a great time.
It was great having you on the show.
We have a country to save. Go to NikkiHaley.com and join us.
Governor Haley, thanks very much for being with us, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks very much.